Hello everybody, welcome to the first session of Taxashila. Today we are going to talk about structured authoring. So, what is structured authoring? Normally people consider the use of XML in documentation to be structured authoring. Well, that is not entirely true. You see, structured authoring can be done even without XML. However, XML cannot be done without structured authoring. While structured authoring is a concept, XML is a technology that enables people to implement that concept. Scriptorium Publishing, in one of its white papers, defined structured authoring as a publishing workflow that lets you define and enforce consistent organization of information in documents. What does that mean? First, structured authoring is a publishing workflow. It consists of a series of steps or activities that you must follow to publish your document. Second, it gives you the capability of defining how you want to organize information in your documents. Third, once you have defined the organization of information, you can use structured authoring to enforce those definitions or guidelines that you have created. Do remember, structured authoring is applicable for both print as well as web publications. Let's take a real life example to see how this entire defining and enforcing of rules thing works. Suppose you are asked to lead a team of 5 writers to create a recipe book. All writers are working remotely, but under your guidance. It's an ambitious project as your book will contain around 1000 recipes. You ask each writer to submit 5 recipes each day so that in 40 days your book will be ready. You take up the role of the editor just in case there are errors in the recipes submitted by your writers. The very first day when each writer submits their recipes, you are in for a shock. There is no consistency in what they have submitted. While Sarah has provided stepwise instructions for cooking, Jane has written in paragraphs. Matthew has forgot to mention the quantities of few of the ingredients, and Joe has not mentioned the preparation time for his recipes. Anita is the only one who has provided images for each recipe. Now, you very well know that unless all recipes are written in a consistent fashion, you will not be able to publish them together in a book. If you as an editor try to rectify all the discrepancies, you will end up spending as much time as your writers have spent together authoring those recipes. So what do? Well, you can create something called a rule book. It will contain a set of rules that the writers will follow while authoring the recipes. Here are some of the rules that you can include in the book. Rule number 1. Every recipe will start with the name of the preparation. Rule number 2. The name will be immediately followed by preparation time and cooking time for the recipe. Rule number 3. If available, insert the image of the food item after the preparation time. Rule number 4. The image will be followed by the list of ingredients. Start the list by mentioning how many people will the quantities mentioned serve. Follow it by the name of the ingredients and the quantities in grams. Rule number 5. Using a numbered list, explain the procedure of preparing the recipe. Rule number 6, and so on and so forth. You get the idea. Now, you ask all your writers to follow the rule book. From the very next day, you will observe a marked improvement in consistency of all the recipes submitted by your writers. There will be mistakes, but they will be few. The rule book will act as a reference for you and all your writers and will come in very handy in case you have any argument with your writers. Let us now take a step back and try to realize what just happened. You defined a set of rules for authoring, but how did you arrive at those rules? Well, obviously you analyzed all the recipes that you had received or have come across in the past and finalized what you think was the best way of arranging information for a recipe. In other words, you gave your recipes a structure. Once you had decided on the structure, you documented them and created the rules that all writers must follow. You published these rules as a rule guide and told your writers that it was their Bible as far as the recipe was concerned. You made it mandatory for them to follow the rule book. As an editor, you identified instances where they have not followed the rules and pointed them out. In other words, you enforced the rules. Compare what you have done to the definition of structured authoring. The first characteristics of structured authoring is a publishing workflow. Check. You definitely have a workflow for authoring and editing content. Second requirement, defining a structure. Check. Your rulebook is all about the structure of your information. Third requirement, enforcing the structure. Check. Through your rulebook and through your editing checks, you are enforcing the structure. Well, congratulations. You have implemented structured authoring. There is just one drawback to your implementation. It is entirely manual, and as we all know, to err is human. The dependency on human intervention makes your implementation prone to error and therefore time consuming and costly. In our next session on structured authoring, we will discuss how machines can be used for structured authoring. See you then. Have a nice day.